It was the year when Jake Morrison, the captain, stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance and watched the stars on the main screen. Humanity having just recently discovered how to travel faster than light in 2387, thus Jake was proud of Defiance, even though it wasn't the largest or most powerful ship in the human fleet. Lieutenant Amy Baker said, "Captain, we're getting some strange readings," while positioned at the tactical. However, although her tone was serene, Jake could detect Amy's worry beneath it. Been with him for 3 years, and she has never been concerned about anything, including the readings Jake requests as they become closer. "Look at her screen, sir. There are several ships there, large ones that just came out of." Amy responded from 50,000 kilometers away, her fingers dancing over the knobs. "Count at least 12 ships, all of which are far bigger than us, Commander Pete Collins. Those ships don't match any design in our database, according to the engineering station captain's lookup. Signatures are not like anything we've ever seen." Jake's stomach clenched as the Defiance looked about the Kepler 442 system is located distant from Earth, and if these unidentified ships were. Consequently, Jake instructed all 200 members of his team to be on their own red alert. Amy raised shields and charged weapons as hands to combat stations, but don't target them just yet because we don't want to start a. The bridge lights were darkened, and warning klaxons sounded throughout the ship while Jake watched the crew, but we couldn't finish the fight. These were well-trained and prepared individuals who moved with practice efficiency, but they had never encountered the situation described by this incoming transmission captain. Kelly Wright, who had just graduated from the academy, was signed by NS from the communication station. The largest ship in their formation provided excellent instruction. Jake muttered as he straightened his uniform on screen, and the primary viewer flickered. Jake was abruptly staring at something that chilled him. The extraterrestrial in front of him was towering and its eyes were lovely, and its pale blue skin seemed to gleam with its own light. Utterly black, and its voice reverberated with such force that it seemed to tremble the very air, as if it were a primordial monster. "Of the third globe you call Earth," the extraterrestrial said, and its words were interpreted in some way. "I speak English fluently and am a high diver for the Valeri selected servant of the. You stand before beings of unadulterated celestial might, the legitimate guardians of all life in this galaxy, cosmic divine." Jake looked at Amy and Pete, but neither of them seemed impressed. They were merely awake and prepared, the alien went on. "For 10,000 of your years, we have led the lesser species by raising what appeared to be a hand wreathed in crackling energy." Jake whispered beneath his breath, "We are your gods and you will worship us as such gods of this galaxy toward enlightenment." With a sound of contempt, breath Pete said, "You have 72 hours to give up your species will bow before the Valeri," Zex Dahl said, "and acknowledge our divine authority. Those who oppose a divine will are honored and served by the Empire. Will go extinct." The extraterrestrial motioned, and abruptly 3 of the human exploration vessels that had been charting the system just disappeared in bursts of bright light, devoid of wreckage or explosions. "Just gone, this is what happens to everyone who disobeys the gods," according to Zextal, and its black eyes that appear to be fixed on Jake, as if the earthly animals are obedient. "And no peace under our everlasting leadership, reject, and confront heaven's own judgment." The communication concluded. After an intriguing moment, Pete commented, "The bridge in tense silence. Well, did you notice how arrogant that monster looked?" Jake nodded as Amy snorted, "Gods, my foot." Under all the elaborate lighting displays and theatrical remarks, he had gradually noticed it as well. The alien's demeanor had struck him as eerily familiar, reminding him of bullies he had encountered as a child. Who, in order to obtain what they desire, employ intimidation and fear. Lieutenant Commander Hayes Jake called his intelligence. "I want to know everything we can about Valeri's technology, officer." Lisa Hayes responded, "Their tactics, their history, everything is already on a captain. I'm examining the energy signatures from when they destroyed our probes and the power levels from her station are striking, but the approach implies technology rather than supernatural intervention, Captain Kelly stated tentatively. Should we get in touch with Earth and inform them of the ultimatum? Jake thought this Earth was weeks ago away, even at top speed. By the time assistance reached the scene, the situation would be long resolved. Send a message. He chose to provide a comprehensive report on our circumstance, but emphasized that we're not waiting for help. What are your directives, sir? Amy asked Jake as he glanced around. Since they were far from home and up against superiors, his team trusted him to make the proper choice. Given the overwhelming numbers and technology, it would be wise to give up and try to bargain in order to buy time, but something about the invaders' haughty belief that people would just comply without. Jake became enraged at the question, so he answered, "We wait until we learn everything. We can discuss these so-called gods and then demonstrate to them how people view bullies who make claims to divinity." As data flooded across a console, Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes labored through the night. The Defiance had been watching Valeri transmissions on several screens for 18 hours, and what she was learning made her stomach turn. "You must see, Captain." As Jake entered the intelligence department, Lisa yelled out, and the heavy bags under her eyes indicated that she hadn't slept, but Jake pulled up a chair next to her workstation while she spoke in a strong, urgent tone. "What have you discovered?" "It's much worse than we anticipated, sir." Lisa raised a red dots on a star chart displaying the local sector indicate dozens of star systems. Every system has at least one inhabited world, and they are all under Vether's jurisdiction. Jake asked, looking at the map, "How many species are we talking about?" "At least 47. Lisa responded, "There are various civilizations that we can identify from the communications flow, but they're not just defeated all of their slaves." Lisa displayed the translated message. "Look at these logs, they show a dispatch from the Valeri Fleet Command to the Kthmari Council. Divine Shepherds, the Kathmari people's offering of the cycles, was displayed on the screen. 2 million units of refined metals, 1 million units of processed meals, and 50,000 of our strongest laborers for your sacred building projects. We exist just to serve the everlasting gods." Jake was ill. "It gets worse," Lisa stated solemnly, bringing up another message. 50,000 workers. This is from a species known as the Thorak, and they are requesting authorization to create a novel medication that could millions of their people from a disease. Novi's reaction was succinct: "God will determine who survives. As passes away, your request is rejected. Such knowledge is not appropriate for weaker creatures." Jake remarked, his voice growing irate, "They're deliberately keeping them primitive. They're keeping every species under there. Regardless of the technological level at which the Vel theory was discovered, control is locked." Lisa gave him other information on the Valeri, some of which had been dormant for thousands of years. Although they identify as shepherds, they are really farmers who gather resources, labor, and even subjects.